Picture this. You're flying over the deep Indian Ocean, and suddenly rising out of the endless blue are these massive, towering granite boulders getting smashed by turquoise waves. We're looking at the Republic of Seychelles. It's the smallest country in Africa, but trust me, this is so much more than just your typical tropical vacation spot. What we're actually looking at is a breathtaking, drifting ancient microcontinent. It's a place where massive geological shifts and human history play out like a literal cinematic epic. 115. For millions and millions of years, these 115 islands, just scattered out across the vast expanse of the Somali Sea, sat completely empty, just waiting. There was absolutely zero human population here, just the rhythmic crash of the waves against ancient stone and coral. It was this untouched canvas of nature, perfectly preserved in deep time. So, it really makes you wonder, right? How exactly does a fragment of an ancient world survive completely stranded in the middle of the ocean? Well, unlike most island chains that are born from violent volcanic eruptions, the inner islands of the Seychelles are carved out of solid granite. They're actually sitting right on top of this massive, submerged block of rock that literally broke off from the supercontinent Gondwanaland, back when Madagascar split from India millions of years ago. It's wild to think about, but it's quite literally a time capsule from an ancient Earth.
Section 1. The untouched canvas.
Because of this insane level of isolation, we get this stark geographic divide that is just fascinating. On one hand, you have 42 towering, ancient granitic inner islands, places you might have heard of, like Mahé and Praslin, rising super dramatically out of the shallow waters of the Seychelles Bank. And then, contrasting completely with those giants, you have these flat, sprawling coral sand cays and atolls drifting out to the south and west. It's basically two completely different ecological worlds existing within a single national border. Now, inside this pristine natural laboratory, some utterly unique plant life evolved. Take the coco de mer, for example. It's this spectacular species of palm tree that is endemic to just 2 islands on the entire planet, and it produces the world's absolute heaviest seed, famously known as the love nut. It shares this ancient home with bizarre flora like the jellyfish tree, which is a plant so incredibly rare and so old that it actually sits in a genus all by itself. I mean, it's a botanist's dream, just locked away from the rest of the globe.
150,000. This profound oceanic isolation also served as a fortress for a fragile population of 150,000 Aldabra giant tortoises. These massive ancient reptiles were actually nearly wiped out by early sailors who hunted them, but today they still roam free on the remote, UNESCO-protected atoll of Aldabra. It's a completely wild, healthy population that, crazily enough, actually outnumbers the human population of the entire country.
Section 2. Forging a Creole Identity.
But you know, when a paradise that's been hidden for epochs finally gets discovered, well, everything changes. Vasco da Gama first spotted the islands in 1503, and for a long time, they were actually used as this rugged, secret hideout for pirates. It wasn't until 1770 that the French finally dropped anchor, bringing 15 white settlers and 13 enslaved Africans and Indians. Control eventually shifted over to the British after the Napoleonic Wars, before the nation finally claimed its independence as a republic in 1976.
And all of that intense, layered history forged a really unique demographic tapestry. You had French settlers, enslaved Africans brought in from various Indian Ocean trade networks, alongside Indian and Chinese indentured laborers, and over generations, they all mingled. They merged into this beautifully complex, multiracial Creole culture. Today, nearly 75% of the population identifies as Christian, living alongside really prominent Hindu and Muslim communities. And they're all bound together by Seychelles Creole, which is a language spoken natively by over 90% of the people there.
What's really fascinating is how this cultural fusion shaped their daily society. The Seychellois household is traditionally matriarchal. Mothers are the dominant force here. They're the ones controlling the household expenditures, guiding the family structure, and making sure the children's interests are front and center. It's a really interesting social dynamic, and it forms the very bedrock of their modern community today.
Section 3. Coups, Pirates, and Progress.
Now, behind those picture-perfect beaches lies a surprisingly turbulent modern history. Seriously, it reads like a political thriller. Just 1 year after they gained independence, in 1977's socialist coup established a one-party state. Then, in 1981, there was this almost unbelievable mercenary takeover attempt. 43 armed mercenaries actually masqueraded as a holidaying rugby team, kicked off a massive airport shootout, and then literally hijacked a plane to escape. Throw in some severe cyclones, and the historical drama is just palpable. And that drama didn't just fade away in the 20th century either. Even in our modern era, piracy has been a huge issue, costing the Seychelles an estimated 4% of their total GDP in lost boats, fishing, and tourism. To fight this, they've had to aggressively deploy their Coast Guard and even team up to use international drones. All of this just to protect their economic lifeblood from modern Somali pirates operating out there in the Indian Ocean.
But here is the truly amazing part. Despite the political coups and the modern piracy, they managed to completely reinvent their nation's trajectory. Back in the 1960s, this was your classic low-yield plantation economy, basically just exporting cinnamon, vanilla, and copra. Fast forward to today, and it has blossomed into a modern economic powerhouse, fiercely driven by high-end tourism and a massively booming service sector.
Now, you might think it's all about those famous luxury resorts you see on magazine covers, but the real wealth of this nation actually comes from the sea. Processed and frozen fish make up over 80% of their top exports. So the economy truly rides on the silverbacks of Indian Ocean tuna. And when you combine that with their open market strategy, it's pushed the Seychelles to achieve the highest nominal GDP per capita and the highest Human Development Index ranking in all of Africa. Truly incredible.
Section 4. Preserving the Oasis.
So, how exactly does a wealthy, rapidly modernizing nation protect its ancient, incredibly fragile canvas? Well, they look out into the blue, 1.35 million square kilometers to be exact. In 2023, the Seychelles finalized a revolutionary marine spatial plan that covers that staggering expanse of ocean. They are out there actively defining the blue economy, essentially turning their territory into a massive protected zone to ensure sustainable fishing and rich biodiversity. It's actually the second largest protected ocean area in the entire world.
And their commitment on land is just as fierce. Seychelles allocates an absolutely incredible 42% of its entire terrestrial territory purely for conservation. In fact, they rank first globally in the Forest Landscape Integrity Index. For the Seychelles, environmental protection isn't just some government policy written on a piece of paper. It's a deeply ingrained cultural value. They know exactly how rare and how special their home really is.
A fragile paradise, crowned by the sea. They've survived ancient continental drifts, early pirate hunters, and plenty of modern political turbulence. But as unpredictable weather patterns and global climate change loom ever closer on the horizon, it leaves us with one massive question. Can this drifting microcontinent maintain its delicate, beautiful balance for another million years? It's a profound question for sure, and it's one that the whole world should be watching closely.